This is absolutely Essendon. You know that. Thank you for once again pressing play. Today we are going to have a look at what is the potential path to the promised land. If we could get there, what would need to happen? We get into all the nitty-gritty, right into the weeds. So this time you really do need to get comfortable. Relax. We're about to go down and deep. Right, so I saw something going around. I don't know where this actually originated. Is it a meme? I don't know how empirical is this evidence, but it just got me thinking. And so I've asked my sidekick here today to, after last week's episode in particular, where a couple of people said, "You guys are a little negative, aren't you?" They must be new around here. Welcome, but yes, they did. They were forthcoming with their view. So I've asked my esteemed sidekick here to crunch the numbers, look under the hood, have a look at what could be done. And that was inspired by also something that did you see this? I think I sent this to you.
Send it to me.
It's a ranking of the easiest to hardest teams to support in the AFL.
Let me guess.
So if you had to guess who is the easiest team to support, who would be your tip?
I don't know, and to be fair, I haven't seen this, so let me think. Easiest team to support in the AFL.
You mean you didn't look at it? I sent this to you
I had
in preparation for the show.
I had a crossword to finish. Okay. Geelong, I would have to think.
Right, okay, well, you've nailed it.
Right.
And they probably would have been my guess as well.
But the funny thing about that is you ask any Geelong supporter, you know, are you happy with your team? They're always moaning, Chris Scott, useless, get rid of him.
Yeah, underperformed.
Done nothing.
Underperformed, yeah. We should have 8 premierships in the last 11 years.
Right.
Yeah.
They are just, spoiled.
But I think the point is that they generally show up, right?
They do.
As a fan,
they do.
They don't capitulate often.
All right, so what the question I've got is who is the hardest team to support? What is this based on any science? Or?
That's why I don't know, but it's a beautiful graphics, and maybe we'll share it up on the screen.
Sure, okay.
But yes, coming in at 18th are the Essendon Bombers. No, GWS. They were at like 5th.
How is that even?
Yeah, I know.
That is bullshit. I mean, you know what it is. So Essendon's last. Now, no surprises there. I thought Carlton would be pretty.
Yeah, they're close.
Are they?
They're close. Yeah,
I wonder why.
13th.
Fallen Giants.
But just above us, North Melbourne, the Saints, and the Adelaide Crows. The second hardest.
Don't you have to have a supporter base to qualify?
Second easiest to support are the Collingwood Magpies, apparently.
The Maggies. Yeah, well, they're all.
So anyway,
they're living in a cloud of a meth-infused stupor.
So again, lest we be accused of kicking off with negativity again.
Go Bombers.
But I just thought that was worth sharing because I think, the real Bomber, it hasn't been easy.
Well, I was going to say, if it's hard to support Essendon, try doing a YouTube channel for them. If you reckon that's hard, seriously, we got to come up with stuff every week.
That is true.
And people complain because we're not positive all the time.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean,
that
come
is
on,
true.
guys.
Yeah, and to be fair, we haven't sold you a 5-year subscription. Like, just,
there's no cost involved.
Feel free to just scroll like a gay prince. So
out the door.
But anyway,
all right.
Putting all that aside,
there is a lot of, 25 years of reason why we're not, most positive, but we are generally balanced. Yes. I think. I mean, we might be negative from time to time, but I don't think we ever try to character assassinate any of the players. Maybe recruitment managers we've had a bit of a dig at.
Possibly, but look, we definitely don't drink.
Pretty justifiable.
We don't drink the Kool-Aid, no.
We don't.
So today's episode, the theme is how to win a flag. How will we go from where we are, which is not in a great location, to the promised land? You've been on the whiteboard.
Can I just perhaps clarify? I think the theme is how we're going to win a flag this year. this year. Right? We're not talking about some 5-year plan or, we're going back to the draft, we're rebuilding from the bottom up. We're talking about we're going to win a flag in 2025, and today we're going to try and show you how that will be done. And it's really up to Brad now. If Brad, you're watching, I'd grab a pen, grab a pad of paper.
You want to write this down
and start taking some notes.
You would, because this is it.
This is the good stuff.
If we can just do this, really.
So,
yes.
Can I just perhaps clarify that neither you or I have any professional association with the Essendon Football Club?
Right.
And unlikely to ever have that now because of our YouTube channel. But more importantly, we are not professional football coaches, so we don't pretend to know everything. But sometimes, you know what? The further you are away from something, the clearer it comes into focus. And I suspect that Bradley might be a little too close to some of these things, because I'm going to talk with you today about areas where I think we can make some immediate improvement and not only climb the ladder, but make it to the promised land.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. So I think we should start with, you need benchmarks with any sort of comparison, right? So let's start benchmarking against, say, the recent Premier, the Lions, and the Swans, who always we can't get rid of them. They're always around. They're getting close. They may stumble, but have a look at how their stats compare to ours.
So it's worth pointing out, of course, Sydney got smashed in the grand final. So a lot of the numbers in fact, all of the numbers we're talking about are based on home and away performance in the 2024 season, and Sydney finished on top of the ladder. Brisbane finished 5th. So, Brisbane were the eventual premiers, but they were only 5th on the ladder going into the finals. But Sydney were absolutely the dominant side for most of the season. They had a little bit of a dip towards the end. But we're looking at, what made those two teams the successful sides that they were, certainly during the home and away season, and then, of course, in the finals. And then comparing that to, Essendon in regards to some of the key stats, the metrics. And what are the differences? What makes us a team that flounders in the bottom half of the table versus those guys that finish, with premierships? So at least with grand final appearances.
Yes. Okay. All right. Fantastic. So let's quickly look at the Swans last year, as you said, during home and away.
Yeah,
right?
I think the starting point is to just say the key to winning a game of football is the side that kicks the better score, right? In any match, it's how much you score. The measurement of success in this game is the scoreboard.
Thank you for
so perhaps looking at that to start with.
Yes, okay. Well, it is a good launch pad. All right, so the Swans' average points per game, 97.2. They were ranked first. Average points against per game, 76.9, ranked 12th. But I think that's a good thing.
The lower the number, the better.
In that regard. Yep. So a points differential of 20 points. We go to the Lions, average points per game, 92.6, ranked 5th. Average points against per game, 75.9, ranked 17th, which is a good thing.
Fantastic defence.
Points differential, 16 points. Okay, the Bombers, average points per game, 82.2, ranked 13th. Not a good thing. Average points against per game, 88, ranked 4th. Points differential of minus just under 6 points.
So again, that 4th ranking being pretty poor, that means we're the 4th easiest team to kick goals against.
Right. So, you look at that and go, well, it's not a massive difference, but across the season, it's a big difference. So look,
you mentioned the Swans had a positive differential of 20 points, 20.3 points in a game, and when we're running at a -5. So effectively, there's a 25-point difference on average between Sydney and Essendon throughout the course of the season.
Yeah,
that's 4 goals.
Yes. Yes.
And you know what? If you won every game by 4 goals, you're happy. You're going to have a decent percentage, and of course you get the points.
All right.
So that is, it sounds like a small number, but they're not. They actually add up to quite a large number. I mean, it's an average too. So plenty of those games are 40, 50-point wins, and a few 2 or 3 point close ones thrown in. So
that's right. So if you were to say, where are these 4 goals going to come from for the Bombers this year? So
to make up that difference.
Yes. So if we look at the Lions' top 6 goal kickers for 2024, you had Danaher at 58, Cameron 44, Lohmann Where was he at the start of the season? 36, Hipwood 33, chipping away, Rayner 31, Archie 27, for a total of 229
so
goals.
So 6 guys kicking over 27 goals. That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah. You mean, yes, yes, it is.
So 5 over 30.
The Bombers' top 6 goal kickers in 2024. Langford, he scored 43, Stringer 42, Wright 19, Gresham 19, Jones 18, Guelphy 15 for a measly, in comparison, 156. So that's going to be a big issue, is kicking the goals this year, at the risk of stating the obvious. And we know that Stringer is no longer with us, so there's 42. Wright, we really don't know what to expect. Will he deliver another 19? Will he deliver even less? And if so, then where are the rest of the goals possibly going to come from?
Yeah, and I mean, the difference between Essendon's top 6 and Brisbane's top 6 is 50 goals. And, that's over 23 games, it's more than 2 goals a game.
Yeah. So
just the top 6 goal kickers on the Brisbane team is delivering more than 2 goals additional scoring than we are with our top 6. And as you said, Stringer gone, okay, well, he probably would have had an off-season based on his history.
Well, because it would have been his off year.
Yeah. But, Wright, where's he in the whole scheme of things at the moment? He's not featuring at training. He's not setting the wheel on fire.
That is a concern. So I think we can say, and again, we don't want to put unnecessary pressure, but Langford, if he continues, let's put him down. Well, we need him to at least score 55 goals, right? Can we put him down 55? Or this is all things
You're
going
saying
well?
This is what we need. This is what
planets aligning.
Yep.
Okay.
That's fair. I mean, he kicked 53, I think, or 50-something the year before.
The year before he did.
Yep.
So it's possible.
Sure.
We're not being crazy.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
What about Caddy? How many can we put down?
Right. So this is interesting. I mean, his second season, he's played 9 games of footy, but if Caddy has a breakout year and plays the full, of course, everything's assuming these guys are fit for the whole year. And like Caddy, if he can put 30 to 35 goals on the board, which would be fantastic for a second-year player.
So we need him. We need him to do that.
Yep.
Now, Kako is an unknown, right?
Sure,
so
but
what do you?
Well, I mean, again, this is assuming everything falls into place, and we've got to come to why they're going to score goals. It's not just a case of saying they're going to score goals. We have to look at how that's going to happen, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But Kako, let's assume Kako is good for 25. He has a breakout first year, fantastic young forward. That's a little bit over 1 goal a game. Is that absolutely out of the question? No. I mean, Jai Menzies kicked 1 goal a game in his second or third season. So, it's certainly within the realms of possibility.
Okay, so this is an interesting one, Jonesy, right? So he kicked 18 goals, right?
Which is more than what I thought, actually. When I saw that number, I didn't realise he'd kicked, almost 20 gols last year.
Yeah. He kind of had some games where he was on, and then some games where he was off. I always felt.
And he played up on the wing quite a bit.
He did a bit, especially in the sort of the last third of the season. So it'll be interesting to see what the strategy is with him going forward. But he's someone that I've plucked out that, were the planets to align, he needs to add to that tally.
Yeah. So
ideally,
what sort of total are you saying for him?
Oh, it'd be good if we could get 30 goals, 35 goals out of him.
Yeah. I mean, he's certainly capable. I think the key here is how they set up that forward line. If Jones is going to play forward, is it him and Caddy? Are they the 2 key forwards? Or is it going to be a combination of Jones, Caddy and Wright, maybe?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be Jones, Caddy and Draper?
Well, exactly.
So, let's assume that Caddy and Jones are the 2 key forwards. Then, you'd want 1 or 2 of them kicking 30-plus goals. I mean, that's what Brisbane players are doing. That's what we're going to have to do.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Draper, again, is that definitely terrifies the opposition, with his potential marking ability, but his goal-kicking ability would, again, have to have improved, I think, for him to be in the mix.
I cannot imagine a world where Draper's going to kick more than 20 goals in a season.
So even putting our positive hats on...
it just doesn't. And neither should it, by the way. I think, honestly speaking, if we're relying on Sam Draper to be our goal scorer, we're not going anywhere. We've got to have key forwards doing what key forwards do.
Yeah, but if we're looking for 4 goals and he can just sneak that 1 goal every second week, That adds up.
That's going to happen.
Doesn't it?
So yeah, he's going to play a part. But we've got to get a. I remember, I think it was in 2000 when we dominated that season. We had 5 players kick over 35 goals that year. Caracella, Lucas, Lloyd, obviously, Buick, and on and on. So if you're going to be a successful side, you've got to have a spread of goal kickers.
Yeah.
And based on our last few seasons, that's not been the case.
Right.
The other two, which I think are really important, and one of them is, I think, running into a must show us what he can do season is Perkins. And I think Perkins is probably the player that's going to fill the stringer role. He's going to be that mid-size half forward. He's clearly not the dynamic player Jake Stringer was at his prime, but he's a decent player, and he has shown that on occasions he can kick 3 or 4 goals in a game. So if he gets some room to move and is in the right shape and the right frame of mind, I mean, Perkins could be the guy to make up some of the goals that we lose from Stringer leaving the club.
I'm not convinced he's a forward, but let's stay positive.
Well, he's a forward mid, I mean, he's not a forward. He's not going to play anywhere else. So I think his opportunities on the ball will be limited with the number of midfielders that we have.
Yeah.
And I think, generally speaking, he's ultimately going to have to find a permanent place in the side. And I think it's going to have to be forward. I can't see him displacing Durham, Caldwell, Parrish, Merritt, even Martin out of the midfield. Yeah. So let's assume that.
So and then I think small forwards is where we've been lacking. So we definitely need a better contribution.
Well, Kako obviously being one of those.
That's right. That's right.
But Gresham, I think, has to step up.
I think so. Yeah, he's been. Would you say a little on the quiet side?
He had an average first season. I don't believe. What did he? 19 goals. That's not too bad. It's not too bad, to be honest. But I think Gresham's got to have more scoreboard impact.
Right.
And if we look at the Brisbane example, they have those two key forwards in Hipwood and Danaher.
Yeah.
They won't have Danaher this year.
No.
But then surrounding them, you've got this sort of mosquito fleet.
Yeah.
And they were tremendously effective in feeding off the two tall forwards.
Yeah, makes all the difference. So we need to sort of put him down for 30 goals. And if we do with the other numbers that we've just suggested, I think we get to 206 goals. So that's added 50 goals.
Right. So
an average of 2 goals a game.
There's no science in it, but generally speaking, if you can get an extra 50 goals out of those top 6 players, we're right back in the running. That's picking up a couple of goals. We had to get an extra 4. To be competitive, to be the premiers. And remember that includes stopping the opposition from scoring too.
Yes.
So defence has a part to play.
Yeah.
So if you pick up 2 goals, 2.5 goals per game on what we were doing last year, and we can be a little tighter in defence, it's a pretty easy turnaround, but a lot has to go right. And I think this is where we come to the crunch. It's easy to throw numbers and say, well, this is what we've got to score. These are the targets we should be aiming at. But the fact of the matter is, how do you actually do that? Why is it that we were not able to score goals as freely as the better sides last year? And I'm going to ask you this, because we had the highest average entries into the forward 50 of any team in the competition last year. We were ranked number 1 for inside 50 entries, forward 50 entries.
Right.
Yet I think from my notes, if I may just check on that, we were something in the range of about 9th or 10th in terms of goal conversion.
Yeah. Look, there was no question. It was the bane of our lives last year, was the constant entries into the forward 50, but the ball generally bouncing out just as quick, because either it wasn't marked because it was sort of the ball was going. I
should correct it. We were 4th on inside 50s, not first, but 4th is still pretty high.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, it felt like it was happening a lot anyway. Yeah. But it was just bouncing out because it was generally kicked to a pack. And so there was generally never any clear marks, or if it was being marked, on the boundary line, and the opposition seemed to be pretty cool with that. Go for it. Do your worst.
Okay, so you've just spilt the beans on where we're going to go after the scientific theory I was going to propose. But,
really?
That's all right.
Was there a bigger build-up?
There was.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I've just rugged you.
You've basically said what needed to be said, is that our goal conversion, despite having one of the best inside 50 records, if we take 2024 season as an example, we were in the first 5 rounds of the season. Excuse me, I just got to look at my notes on this. But in the first 5 rounds of the season in 2024, we were averaging around about 50 inside 50s per game, and we were converting that into goals at a rate, scoring shots at a rate of 54%. So
right.
Bear with me on this.
Right. That was scoring shots, not even goals.
Yeah.
Scoring
So 50
shots.
inside 50. So it's a pretty reasonable conversion rate. 54%. So every second time we were going into the forward 50, we were scoring something.
Right.
Right. You with me on that?
Yeah, okay. You reckon that's good?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just
Oh,
no. Well,
okay.
I'm simply saying that's what it was.
Right.
We won most of those games, by the way.
Oh, when we were doing that.
So
yes, okay.
when Essendon was performing well at the beginning of the season,
Right.
Our inside 50s were being converted at a higher rate.
Okay.
In the second half of the season, the inside 50 numbers actually climbed to more than 60 a game on average, but the conversion dropped to 39%.
Yeah, okay.
So, and of course, we all know what happened in the second half of the season. We fell off a cliff, and here's that is to me the fundamental problem is that we are unable to take advantage of the opportunities. We're not converting as well as we should, and we were very inaccurate in the second half of last year. So why? It's easy to state these stats, but the question is why? And I'm going to put this to you, and if I could just very quickly go through it.
Yeah.
So are you following me so far?
Yes, I think everyone's following it.
Oh,
You're
good,
following?
good.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Essendon is the number 1 ranked side for uncontested disposals, uncontested possessions in the competition.
Yeah, I think I've seen that stat somewhere, yes.
So we play a high possession game. Essendon, Brad Scott's game plan revolves around keeping the ball and holding on to it for as long as possible. And, we have a particularly high number of uncontested marks, but we have a very low number of contested marks, particularly inside 50. And this is because we tend to play this sort of high possession game off the halfback, coming out of defence, where we chip the ball around.
Yes.
Our disposal efficiency is amongst the best in the competition.
Yeah.
Everyone says we turn the ball over, but we actually don't. We're one of the best teams at disposing of the ball efficiently.
But it felt to me last year that we would do this chipping game until it got into the hands of the wrong player or a less experienced player, and it was just like watching Pac-Man, just waka, 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 until eventually they closed in and took the ball off us. Or we'd get it down the other end and then they just kick it back, coast to coast.
Right, but the stats actually say that our disposal efficiency is better than... We're 4th. I think we're ranked 4th for disposal efficiency.
Wow, I'm surprised.
This is in 2024.
Okay.
And it's not surprising because we're chipping the ball around the half-back line. If there's a guy over there 15 metres away, pass the ball to him. It's hard to miss that target.
Yeah.
We're not taking adventurous plays, trying the more creative play down the corridor, bringing the ball back inside, taking the riskier play. Right? So the numbers are deceiving because whilst we have a high possession game with a high disposal efficiency, it's not surprising because we're not taking any risks. Essendon is very risk adverse in its play, and they refuse to do that diagonal pass across the field to a guy 50 metres away. So that's one issue. And you're right. Eventually, and this is how the opposition play against us, they know that's how we play. So they just step back.
Yeah.
They basically go, hey, you want to muck around with the ball for 10 minutes in the half-back line? Be our guest.
Yeah.
And eventually one of two things are going to happen. We're going to cock it up, and the ball will spill loose and one of the opposition players will swoop on it, and we're fully exposed going back. The forward line, the back line is opened up, and often players would run through us. The other one is that we eventually get the ball to the forward 50, which we're quite good at doing, but by the time we get there, 16 of the opposition 18 are already in the defensive 50 lined up waiting for us to kick the ball in.
They're all set up.
How often was our forward 50 so congested? It was like punt road at 8 in the morning versus the opposition where they were just flying the ball down the field, kicking it into
all the space in the world.
Right.
All the space.
And that's because we take way too long in the build-up. We're far too slow. It's methodical, it's boring, it's non-exciting, and it's non-creative. And this is the fundamental problem with Essendon's game plan, is that if you think of Richmond in their sort of three-peat era, they didn't care about disposal efficiency. They did not care. They were only concerned with moving the ball quickly, creating chaos, getting the ball forward, and letting their small forwards, particularly their small forwards who were very good in that era, to jump on the loose balls and kick goals. And of course they had some pretty decent tall forwards with guys like Revolt and maybe Lynch a little bit later on.
That helps.
So that to me is the core problem, is that we're very highly rated for things like uncontested possession, uncontested marking, but we're very poor for contested marking in the forward 50. Is it any wonder Peter Wright struggles? When we finally kick the ball to him, he's surrounded by defenders.
Yeah.
But how often have you seen Peter Wright on a lead, out in front, on his own, and he marks the ball? And of course, once he gets the ball inside 50, he's an incredibly reliable kick at goal.
Right.
So, our accuracy went out the window because the only time our key forwards got the ball, they were pinned up on the 50-metre arc out on the boundary line. How many times did we watch Langford taking shots from the boundary line last year? And so our accuracy is a result, or inaccuracy is a result of the fact that we are not getting quick possession to tall forwards who are on their own in a one-on-one situation, and where our smalls can sort of leap on any of the ground balls that come down from the tall guys competing for the mark.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that the goal kicking did seem to deteriorate throughout the year, but I get you.
Yeah, our accuracy went from 55 to 39%.
Yeah, it dropped right down. So, okay, so far the thesis holds up. Okay, so
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's too many guys out there and fans that probably haven't said at one point in the last season gone, kick the ball long, kick the ball long, don't go backwards, don't go sideways, kick the ball into the centre, use the corridor.
Yeah,
that I heard it a lot of times at the footy, and I think commentators would have said much the same.
And especially when they were chipping it around, we always seemed to be under far more pressure than the opposition anyway. I think that was what was frustrating anyway. We were absorbing all this pressure in our back half. So, looking forward... Or perhaps even worse, no pressure, because the opposition, you were just standing there going, you want to play the possession game, go for it. Yeah.
As soon as you try to put the ball inside 50, we're taking it straight back out again.
Yeah, and they generally
that's
did.
more on that. So,
okay,
what's the answer? What do we need to do? So that's the problem.
Yes.
What do we need to do?
How do we move the needle? And do you think it's... Because Brad Scott would always say there's nothing wrong with the strategy. It's been the execution that was letting the team down. Do you remember that? More than once in the press conferences last year, especially in the second half. So is there a change in strategy? Do you think there is required? And especially in terms of who's been playing in key positions. Let me bring up someone like a Nick Martin, because he's been accused of turning over the ball a lot last year. Is playing off the back line a lot, accumulating a lot of possessions, but was it empty calories?
Yeah, I don't. Well, my view is that Nick Martin's wasted on a half back line, but that's definitely the strategy. So, if you remember in 2023 and the fantastic year that Mason Redman had,
yes,
then compare it to 2024, where he was pretty much average at best. I think he might have even been a little below average. And a lot of people saying, "Oh, that's because he got comfortable with his new contract." I don't think that at all. I mean, these are professional footballers. They go out and play football the same way every week. I think the reason for Redmond's drop-off was the fact that Martin was the go-to guy for the distribution of the ball out of the back line. And Essendon mounted most of its attacks out of its defence.
Yeah.
They're one of the highest rated sides for attacking moves from the back half, from the defensive 50. So Martin was put back there for a particular reason, in many ways the same as our friend at Collingwood, Nick Dacos.
Yes.
So Martin, I think he was okay in that role. He got a lot of the ball. He turns the ball over a bit, but no more or less than probably most players. But it stands out a lot more. But Redmond who I think is better suited to the fast, quick style of play that we're so desperate for, was kind of not the go-to guy out of defence. So I would rather see Redmond grab the ball and then dash forward as he does, do the 20, 30 metre runs and then the big penetrating kicks forward, catching the opposition out of position and getting our forwards one-on-one where they, the balls are kicked to their advantage. Not chip, 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 chip and hope that the defence is not flooded by the opposition. Redmond's a far more damaging weapon to our team than Martin in that respect. I'd rather see Martin coming into the midfield or even off the half-forward flank where he is a goal kicker. So that's one thing. I think the key for us is...
good point, because if we're looking for goal kickers, it'd be so nice if he could chip in with another 25, 30 goals.
Redmond?
Martin.
Martin. Yeah, well, that's right. So, every time Martin goes forward, he kicks 2 or 3 goals, right? Absolutely. He could be the sort of secret weapon in the forward line. Perhaps he's the stringer replacement. I don't know, but I don't think he's the right guy coming off the half-back flank, and I suspect he won't be because there's a lot of talk about Dylan Shield. So I'm kind of more concerned about Shield being in that role. I'd rather see perhaps Roberts or even Al Hawley possibly. I don't know whether he's ready for it or not. But I would definitely, I think you'd agree, I definitely want to see more out of Redmond. And because, definitely. Redmond was, All-Australian candidate in 23.
Yeah, he was.
He wasn't even in the calculations last year.
Yeah, kicked quite a few goals too.
So the other thing is this issue of, long kicks, short kicks, and we've talked a lot about that. I think Essendon's got to become less a short kicking team. I saw stats from last year where we were the number 1 ranked short kicking team. That's kicks under 40 metres.
Right.
And we were the 18th rated side on long kicks.
Right.
Which is obviously kicks over 40 metres.
Wow.
So, we are absolutely dicking around with the ball. Our handball to kick ratio is kind of in the middle of the of the competition rankings, but no question our game is chip kicks, marks, and more chip kicks, more uncontested marks, and it ends up being a kind of a merry-go-round. So I think that's got to be in consideration. Now, why don't we play that more aggressive, long-kicking game? It could be because we just don't have the cattle. We don't have the talent. It might just be that we don't rate our forwards, even if they were able to get out one-on-one. They don't have that marking capacity, perhaps like Joe Danaher for Brisbane had. So that's certainly a factor, I think. But I don't believe we're going to move forward. We're not going to win the Premiership playing the same game plan. If we change the game plan, become more adventurous, more aggressive, go down the corridor, move the ball quickly, get the ball forward, don't go backwards and sideways all the time, then we're giving our forwards a better chance of actually competing for the footy. And, maybe the ball even gets over the back where the small guys can run onto it and just run into an open goal, which happens to us all the time, but we don't seem to do it ourselves to other teams. So...
Can I bring up the issue, or have you got more?
No.
Centre bounce clearances. Because we seem to do okay with that. Stoppages, maybe not so good, but that we seem to do okay. But again, getting into that forward 50, generally pretty quickly on those occasions. But it still just doesn't penetrate. We don't get a mark, it gets spat out.
Yeah, that's true.
Is it the personnel? Is it who's actually delivering that ball?
I think it is. I mean, you're right. Essendon ranked last year second for centre clearances.
I don't know. Was that high?
But we were like 12th we were 15th for stoppage clearances. 15th. Wow. Second for centre clearances, 15th for stoppage clearances. And one of the reasons why is because when the ball goes to ground anywhere around the ground, we're always caught out of position. But in the centre where you've got 4-on-4, we're very good. And, we won't get necessarily into the issue of the ruck, although we might. But I tend to think that our key clearance player out of the centre, in recent years anyway, has been Darcy Parish. And I don't think Darcy is a good user of the footy. I'm not saying he's a bad kick or his disposal efficiency is less than average. It's probably actually around average. I think Darcy's problem is he makes the wrong choices. And I think the difference is when you watch a guy like Patrick Cripps or Paddy Dangerfield, or these guys, these clearance guys that get the ball out of the centre, they just make the right choices. Zach Merritt makes the right choices. But Zach's not necessarily the key clearance player. That's Darcy. I think that's potentially where we fall down. We're getting the ball out of the centre, but it's not going to the right place.
Because Zach's got the ability to sort of, change the angle at the last second or choose someone on the inside. He always does those little kicks when necessary, mixes things up, really keeps the opposition on edge, whereas Darcy tends to just have the one approach generally. Or is that unfair?
No, I reckon it's a really good point. I reckon if you're a defender and you see one of two things happen, you see Darcy Parish getting the ball out of the midfield, off a centre bounce, or you see Zach Merritt getting it. I tell you which one's going to make me more nervous, and that's when it's in Zach Merritt's hands. Because Zach makes really fantastic decisions on where he's going to put the ball. He's always putting the ball to the advantage of his teammate. Darcy, not quite so. He's a fantastic ball getter, Darcy. I think he's a very good footballer, so please, this is not a shot at him.
No.
But it's just a small thing in the game. It's decision-making. It's choosing the right options, and, perhaps we need better options, and then maybe Caldwell and Durham, and even Sartre's coming into the side this year, which he no doubt will, have to be better at how they put the ball into the forward line, because that first kick out of the centre is going into the forward 50.
Yes.
So if you can do that more often than your opposition, and someone's on the receiving end of it, you're going to win more games than you're going to lose.
Yes, I mean, it all has to come together. Or if there isn't someone on the receiving end, you've got that small forward to really take advantage of that opportunity.
And have an open forward line to run into. So, so if Peter Wright's playing, get him out on his own, or at least one-on-one, not with three guys hanging off him. If he can't mark the ball, he's going to bring it to ground, and that's where Kako and Gresham and Elwyn Davey and these guys have got to be sitting at the foot of these tall forwards and have space to run into. We're never going to get that if we play slow, methodical, pragmatic football. We've got to become a more adventurous and be braver and take the risk. And I'm sure you even said it to me once, but Essendon guys get the ball, they look nervous. Half the time they look like they don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to turn the ball over. I think sometimes you've got to take that chance, and eventually things will fall into place. We've got a decent squad. Everyone's got us finishing final in the bottom four. But if we can make some of these changes, tweak the game plan, do some of the things that we've talked about today. I know it's been a little bit of an academic journey, this one. It hasn't been the funniest show.
It's been footy classified-esque.
But if we can do those things, we can win the Premiership.
So if anyone's still awake, are you inspired by that? What are your thoughts? We'd sort of love to hear. But definitely I think we've honed in on the areas that can really move the needle on our performance this year. I mean, the other stat that always comes up, and I don't know whether you've analysed this at all, but I'm sure we probably still don't do well, is, you've got to have a certain number of players aged between 23 and 26 who have played between, 50 and 150 games. That's your premiership window. I don't know where we sit in terms of that, but do you buy into any of that, or do you believe more in the stats? Hey? Game plan, stats.
I think we have this year the fourth youngest list. Youngest. So I can't tell you what that is in terms of games played, but it's probably a similar number. No question, if you've played 70 games of football, there's two things that happen. You're good. Right, so you're not a donkey.
You make better.
Oh, there's been a few that have got to 70 at Essendon. I'm not talking about Brent Stanton or Ricky Dyson, but or Henry Slattery. But there's a few. Dyson. So let's assume if you get to 70, Ricky was all right. He's back at the club now. He's coaching. He's involved. Hi, Ricky.
Great number 2.
Yeah, but if you can get to 75 games, you're probably a pretty decent footballer. So, and the other thing is, you know how the game's played.
You
don't panic as 40 gamers are still learning. And we put a lot of pressure. We're saying we want Caddy and Kako to kick 50 goals or more between them this year.
Yeah.
And they've got a total of 9 games between the two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to win a premiership this year, miracles will have to happen.
They have to be outliers.
Yeah.
They'll have to.
But I'm confident that miracles can happen, and I'm going to say I'm reversing what I've said in the past. I think 2025 number 17 is on its way.
Don't let everyone get to you. Don't be offended. Just
not offended. I'm drinking the orange juice.
You're going all chips in. No, we've never been Kool-Aid drinkers. Never. But when you put it all like that, it's possible.
Of course, it's possible.
It's very possible.
Joe. Yeah, there's 600 guys play AFL football. Right? Something like, I don't know what the exact number is, but it's around that. Every year, 3,000 kids register for the national draft. 60 or 70 of them get selected. Every squad in the AFL has a team that's within 0.5% of each other in terms of the talent.
Yes.
There's nothing separating these guys. They're that good. They do things that you think look easy and I think look easy, but trust me, your average VFL footballer cannot do what some of these guys do. It's why you often see guys in the VFL here getting 40, 50 possessions. They play in the AFL, they can't get a touch.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. Yes.
So the point I'm trying to make is that the talent is there. We have a squad of 40 players or whatever it is, and the differences between our squad and Brisbane's are marginal at best. Marginal. But it's how you bring the talent that you've got to bear and a game plan that works for those particular players. And, if we can get the game plan right, if Brad Scott can stop being so pragmatic and being so conservative in his coaching and be a little more adventurous, I think we could probably do some damage. And I'm going so far as to say that damage means holding up a silver trophy at the end of the year.
I'm so glad you finally come round. I'm glad, finally. Because, as my mum always says, they've all got 2 arms and 2 legs.
Correct. And she should be coaching the football club. That is the truth.
I've often thought that's quite profound.
Mrs. Smoking.
Mrs. Mama Smoking.
Mama Smoking,
Joe.
But, I mean, she's absolutely right. So I'm confident. I've spoken a lot, way too much. I feel like that guy. What's his name?
No, mate. Everyone wants to.
David King.
Everyone wants to hear from you. Oh yeah, he's a conversation dominator.
Am I doing that?
No. But I wanted this today because last episode, there a few people took a few swings saying, "Oh, geez, going to look forward to this all year."
Wait till we start getting thumped by 80 points.
Whining and whinging. Yeah, look, it's probably only 3 weeks away, and then the whining and whinging will start in earnest.
We're being negative during peak delusion.
Yeah, exactly. This is peak delusion.
Wait till round 12.
That's we're on negativity light at the moment.
Yeah, this is as good as it gets.
You just don't know. But they're new to the channel. But welcome anyway. You are very welcome. Pull up a pew, sit down, get comfortable.
I would recommend some of those guys that can never be appeased. Even my call of a premiership may not appease them. They probably want a World Cup as well. I might suggest they go to absolutely any other football channel.
Before we're done, because I think, is there anything more you want to shed on that? Because
so much, but you know what? I know when to draw the line.
Let's drag it out. But shall we? Are we going to touch on the NFL, given that it's coming to town next year, and given that we've just had the Super Bowl this week?
Okay, yeah, go for it. Do your worst.
Well, it was announced this week that the NFL home and away season will feature in 2026. Is it 3 or 4 games in Melbourne?
I thought it was just the one.
No, it's more than one.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Are the cheerleaders coming up?
Oh, I hope so. Gosh, I hope so.
Why? You're happily married.
Just because you're on a diet doesn't mean you can't look at the menu. So she never watches. She never watches.
This somewhere else.
Never ever watches.
Yeah.
The game is coming to town. How do you think it will go when you pick up that game?
Yep.
I'm not a huge fan of the NFL. Can I just say now? It's a whole lot of theatre for not a lot of action out on the field. Too much celebrating not enough game time, in my opinion, okay? Now, the purists will say, oh, it's very scientific and it's a highly nuanced game. I'm not seeing it. But how do you think bringing it all the way across the world and plonking it down in the middle of the MCG?
Oh, you've nailed it. It's entertainment over substance. Look, can I just say, I played the game. Okay.
Did you?
Yep. I played the game.
Linebacker?
I was a tight end. But, no, seriously, I did. And this is back in 1984. All right?
Right.
So, you know.
What on earth possessed you?
They were forming an amateur competition in Melbourne, and we used to train down at Royal Park in Carlton, or Parkville.
Right.
So I know a little bit about the game, let me tell you. The most boring sport to watch, but like golf and tennis, also equally boring to watch. Fantastic to play. I've got to say, it's a lot of fun to play.
Right.
But having said that, the NFL is a juggernaut. It is a juggernaut. If only we could get Kendrick Lamar to open up the halftime entertainment for us.
Let's hope
he's going to put.
Let's hope he never gets invited.
The guy from the Hunters and Collectors will be very disappointed.
I don't know. They can't be happy with that halftime.
I didn't see it, but it was Kendrick, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but I mean, I
don't think rappers work live anyway, do they?
Yeah,
Get Kanye and his missus.
I think it was a fail. I mean, I don't know much.
Well, she's from Australia, right? Isn't she?
Who?
Bianca Sensori.
Oh, why are you weaving her in just so I have to put up a graphic about her nude outfit?
No, I'm just saying, if we could get Kanye down for the AFL halftime.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Right.
All of the lights.
Yeah, hey.
And get Bianca along.
At his peak, he was very good. You just want to get Bianca. Well, she's a Melbourne girl.
Well, I'm not saying anything else, but I think there's an opening there. Well, of course there's an opening there. I'm just not sure it's the right one.
That'll do.
So, I'm not a fan. We're going to put that game. The NFL plays on 100-yard, because they're still in the dark ages.
Yards. So that's 90.
What is it, less than 100 metres?
92 metres, yeah.
So they're playing in these little sort of 100 by, 30 metres wide, 30 yards wide.
Right.
I mean, it barely fills the centre square at the MCG.
Yeah.
So, you're going to be watching this game. It's a bit like when they have the soccer there. It just doesn't work. Work. You need to play it in a rectangular stadium.
So you're saying the crowd will be too far removed?
Of course.
Apparently they're predicting 100,000 people.
Yeah, of course.
Will you attend? Anyone, the person that's still watching, can you tell us, will you attend?
And I think we've got the NBA are going to be coming out here as well?
Yes.
And potentially ice hockey.
But they're playing NBL teams.
Oh, like an all-stars sort of thing?
No. It'll just be an NBA team. I know. Talk about David and Goliath.
Yeah, seriously. Get Andrew Gaze out for that, would they?
So they might have to wheel him out.
Philip Smythe? Was it Philip Smythe?
Oh, God.
Going back a bit. The old boomers.
That's going right. Was he the guy with the sort of, had to keep pushing his hair?
He had a little of a, it's called a comb over.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Smythe.
Right. I liked him.
He never went the full shave.
No, he didn't. No. He was hanging on to the bitter end.
Sometimes his hair was mistaken as the actual net.
Right.
That the basketball would be tossed towards. But I think we're probably running out of steam here.
Yes.
I'm just going to say I'm not a fan.
Right.
I went and saw, in fact, anyone old enough to remember, there was a game of NFL played out at Waverley back in the 80s. Again, it was kind of starting to take off here. And Don McLean, Bye Bye Miss American Pie.
Right. He came out.
He sang the halftime entertainment, and I tell you what, that was actually very good.
Was it?
Vincent, he sang Starry Starry Night, and Bye Bye American Pie.
Right.
The game itself was between two college sides. Now you might think, college is it's nothing, but these guys play in front of 100,000 crowds back home.
Right.
It was so dull. It was just so dull.
Yeah.
Television, you can kind of get in it because there's a lot of commentary to tell you what's going on.
Yes.
Watching it from 60, 70 metres away is like, what happened?
Yes.
What happened?
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we've
and the old high definition television, that sepia video screen out at Waverley, if you remember.
Right.
It wasn't so great at picking up the
sort of just you
weren't zooming in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It was just very pixelated, wasn't it back then?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Should we keep going?
Yeah. That was 40 years ago. All right. Okay. Are we done?
I think so. I hope that was an enjoyable episode.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. But give us your thoughts.
Brad?
What? Yeah. call us. Free consultation. First one's free. After that,
he's never going to talk to us,
Ever. We'll never be invited down by the club, ever.
Someone in Essendon is watching this and they're going, see, even they can tell. So the young assistant, up-and-coming assistant coach, he wants the big gig.
Yeah.
He's going, I told Brad all this. He didn't listen. He wouldn't listen.
He just doesn't listen, no.
So there you go. You got some ammunition. Guys,
we will be back. When will we be back?
Same time next week.
Possibly, yes. Okay, all right. Well, thank you once again for tuning in. Please give us your thoughts below. We always love to read them. We'll be back very, very soon. Go Bombers.
See you around. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye-bye.